The person who hurt you most was not your enemy. They were someone you trusted, someone you let in, and that is exactly why what they did left a wound that enemies never could. But here is what nobody tells you, what Carl Jung spent his entire life trying to warn us about. The betrayal was never really about you. It was about something buried so deep inside them, they could not even see it themselves. And if you do not understand this truth, this dark, uncomfortable truth, you will spend the rest of your life carrying pain that was never yours to carry. So let's go somewhere most people are too afraid to go. There is a concept Jung called the shadow, not a metaphor, not a poetic idea, a real, living, breathing part of every human being, the hidden portion of the psyche where we bury everything we cannot face about ourselves, the rage we were told was wrong, the envy we were taught to be ashamed of, the ambition we learned to suppress because someone once called it selfish. Everything we could not integrate, we pushed down into the dark, and there it waited, patient, silent, growing. Now here is where it gets dangerous. The shadow does not disappear just because you ignore it. It finds other ways out. It leaks, it projects, it shapes behavior in ways the person themselves cannot explain. And when someone betrays you, when someone lies to you, abandons you, humiliates you, uses you, 9 times out of 10, they are not acting from a place of clarity and choice. They are acting from their shadow, from something broken and unexamined inside themselves that they never had the courage to confront. That person who gossiped about you behind your back while smiling to your face. The friend who disappeared the moment your life got difficult. The one who took everything you gave and left without explanation. They were not monsters. They were fractured human beings running from something inside themselves, and you were simply the closest target. This is not an excuse for what they did. Let me be very clear about that. Jung was not in the business of excusing cruelty. He was in the business of understanding it, because understanding is the only thing that actually frees you. Think about the people who betray others the most, the ones who gossip, who undermine, who manipulate, who disappear when they are needed most. Look closely at what they always seem to accuse others of. A person who constantly calls others fake is usually running from their own inauthenticity. A person who accuses others of using them is often the one doing the using. A person who says everyone eventually leaves is usually the one who pushes people away. Jung had a name for this: projection. The shadow, when left unexamined, becomes a lens through which a person sees their own darkness in you. And this is where you have to sit with something uncomfortable. The people who hurt you the most were probably the people who saw something in you that their shadow could not tolerate. Your growth reminded them of their stagnation. Your warmth reminded them of their coldness. Your courage reminded them of their cowardice. And instead of facing that mirror, they tried to break it. They tried to break you. It was never really about you. It was always about what you reflected back to them. That is the work. That is what most people refuse to do. And that refusal, that unwillingness to sit with the uncomfortable truths inside themselves, is exactly why they keep betraying people. It is exactly why the wound keeps finding you. Until you do the work, you will keep attracting the lesson in different faces. Now here's the part that will change how you see the world. When you begin to truly understand the shadow, theirs and yours, something extraordinary happens. You stop taking betrayal personally, not because you become numb, not because you stop feeling, but because you start to see people with a kind of terrifying clarity. You begin to see who someone is not by what they say, but by what they cannot face in themselves. You begin to read the cracks in people, the defensiveness, the excessive charm, the sudden coldness, the need to diminish what others have. You begin to recognize a person who has not yet met their own shadow, and you know, without anger and without judgment, that those people are not safe, not because they are evil, but because they are unconscious, and an unconscious person is the most dangerous person in any room. Jung once observed that people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul. Think about that. Anything. They will destroy relationships. They will sabotage their own happiness. They will betray people who love them. They will construct entire false versions of themselves and spend decades maintaining the illusion, all to avoid looking inward for 5 quiet, honest minutes. The people who hurt you were not strong. They were running, and the tragedy is they probably do not even know it. This is not about forgiving them because they deserve it. Forgiveness in the Jungian sense is not a gift you give the person who wronged you. It is a gift you give yourself. It is the decision to stop letting their unconscious wounds continue to shape your conscious life. It is the refusal to let their shadow live inside you, rent-free, poisoning your present because of what happened in your past. You were not naive for trusting them. You were human, and they were not evil for betraying you. They were wounded and too afraid to do anything about it. But you are here, still standing, still asking questions, still trying to understand, and that alone separates you from them, the people who do the inner work, who dare to face their own darkness, who are willing to sit with their own shame and fear and doubt and say, "I see you, and I am not afraid of you." Those people do not betray others the way the unconscious do, because when you have faced your own shadow, You no longer need to project it onto the world. You no longer need a victim. You no longer need to diminish others to feel safe. You have already done the hardest thing a human being can do. You have looked at yourself, all of yourself, and chosen to stay. So here is the final truth. The one Jung carried through every book he ever wrote, every patient he ever sat across from, every dark corridor of the human psyche he ever walked into. The people who betrayed you gave you something they never intended to give you, a map to the parts of yourself that still needed healing, a map to the boundaries you had not yet built, a map to the beliefs that made you vulnerable in exactly that way. And if you are brave enough to follow that map, if you are willing to do what they were never willing to do, if you go into your own shadow with honesty and without flinching, then what they meant to destroy will become the very thing that makes you unbreakable, not hardened, not closed, not bitter, unbreakable, because the person who knows their own darkness is the last person in the world who can be destroyed by someone else's. That is the dark truth about the people who betrayed you. They could not carry their own wounds, so they handed them to you. And now you have a choice: carry those wounds forever or transform them into the most powerful thing you will ever own. The question is not whether you were betrayed. The question is what you are going to do with it.